Hello, Ben here, and welcome to episode 2 of series 2 of Benjy's Cafe podcast. And joining me for a musical flat white is the DJ, Christian Carlisle. Christian is one of the leading DJs in British music and radio. He can be heard on BBC Music Introducing, and at Christmas made his debut on BBC Radio 1. Christian is also team DJ for the Northern Superchargers in the UK's newest cricket tournament, the 100. And last year saw him provide the soundtrack to the beach soccer and open water swimming at the Neom Games in Saudi Arabia. I wonder if he's brought his Speedos to Benjy's Cafe. Oh yes, and Christian is 5.5 years sober. In this firecracker of an episode, we chat music, happiness, and living alcohol-free.
If you want to stay out and party till 4 a.m, I'm not going to stop anybody. You enjoy yourselves. I'm just not going to be part of that anymore because I'm going to get up at 7 tomorrow. I know it's Sunday, but I'm going to get up at 7 because if I do, I can get out for a walk. I can hit the gym for a bit. I'm not sitting there worrying about all the things that I haven't done because I've spent the last 3 days wallowing in self-pity, consumed by dread of the embarrassment that I was over the course of the weekend.
This is going to be fun. Christian is quite literally human Berocca. Pop the kettle on and enjoy listening. Welcome to Benjy's Cafe podcast, Christian Carlisle. Hello, Christian. How are you?
Ben, I'm absolutely fantastic. All the better for seeing you. It's been a minute, mate. How are you?
I am very good. Yeah, just easing into the new year. I wonder if you feel the same, just kind of navigating my way into the new year, really.
Yeah, it's been interesting. Like, I actually did manage to have a couple of weeks at the beginning of this year of quiet downtime, which is a rarity for me. My feet hadn't touched the floor from August right through until the tail end of December. It was just a really, really intense period of my life in general, not just like professionally, career-wise, but just in general. It was full on. So to be able to have that 2 weeks of actual downtime, first couple of days I didn't really know what to do with myself. I was like, I feel like I should be doing something. I feel like there should be something happening. But then once I sank into it, I just sat and played PlayStation in my pants for 2 weeks. It was great. Honestly, it was absolute bliss. And it's good because at this time of year you do get a chance to kind of ease into it in my line of work. This is the time where do you know what? A friend of mine, Frankie Wah, who's a great music producer, a fantastic DJ, he said something to me. He said something over Christmas. He's like, summer hits are made in the depths of winter. You know, it's like this is the time where you're looking ahead to next year's festival, looking at this year's festival season. You're kind of doing all these plans, all these little things that you have to put in place to make sure that when summer comes around, everything runs smoothly, everybody that's at the festival is having a great time, and the best music that you showcase is getting the platform they deserve. So yeah, this is the time where it's lots of Zoom calls, lots of emails, all the boring admin stuff that you have to do so that when festival season comes around, you don't have to worry too much about it. You can just kind of let your hair down and enjoy yourself.
I love that point, Christian. You know, just having that downtime, that chance to decompress. It's almost like a fight, isn't it? Sometimes mentally, like, okay, I'm allowed to be quiet. I'm allowed to have some still, some calm, to reboot, to recharge. But always you're thinking, self-employed, I've got to keep pushing.
Oh,
but
yeah.
that lovely feeling when it does drop, that feeling of, okay, I'm just going to do what I want here for a few weeks, few days. It's lovely and so important, isn't it? Whatever you do, I think.
Absolutely. It's vital. Like, if you go a million miles an hour constantly, which sometimes this line of work, this profession almost demands, then eventually you have to slow down. You have to take a minute to just stop because you will inevitably get either you stop by your own choice and your own volition and you make that conscious decision of this is the time where I need to take a little bit of a break, or you crash. Like there's no two ways about it. You're going to stop whether you want to or not. It's just a case of you're much better off to dictate to yourself when that's going to happen rather than having it forced upon you. Because if you can get yourself to the point where you have that self-awareness and you have that self-discipline to be able to go, right, this is the time where I need to take a bit of downtime, then you can allocate the amount of time that in your head that you think you're going to need. and you know, right, say in 2 weeks' time, I'm straight back on the horse. Got to get back on this after I've had this period of rest. But if you allow yourself to crash, if you allow yourself to burn out, you don't get to dictate how long it is. You just need to let your body recover. It's like an injury almost. I think that, like, it's possible to do yourself an injury up here every bit as much of it is to do to your body. And once you've done that injury, you have to take as long as it takes in order for you to be able to recover. And you don't get to dictate how long that is. You just have to sit on your hands and wait. And almost that can become even more frustrating, because then if you're just sitting around doing nothing, and you want to be doing something but you just can't because you've burnt out, then it almost becomes this vicious circle that you find yourself in, this tumble dryer of dread, where you really want to get back on it but you just don't have the capacity to yet. So yeah, it's very important to, like, take those moments and identify when it is that you need to have those moments to slow down. Yeah.
I've been out this morning, Christian, for my firstly picking up the dog shit, which is always fun, just stretching the old hamstrings, the old string de jambon. But I've been out for my 5K little plod, and that's my go-to. That's my reset each day. I just wondered, when you do get to those moments, Christian, where you think, "Oh, I'm close to crashing here. I'm a bit anxious, a bit worried about this." What are your go-tos? Do you have a few little things in place away from the music that kind of steer you to a mentally kind of safer place?
Yeah, for me it's fitness. I hadn't set foot in a gym until I was in my mid-30s. It just wasn't one of those things. I have this natural enthusiasm and energy about me that never really needed to be it never really needed to be worked on. It didn't come as the result of, like, regular exercise or anything. Just, like, all through my 20s, it was just like, yeah, let's just go. Let's have it. Come on, let's go. But then after a certain period of time, that energy does start to, like, wane a little bit, and you need to work on it a little bit harder. It's not always naturally there, and I found myself, I needed to do something extra to, like, kind of make sure it was there. And I'd always, when it had come to exercise, I'd always had this, like, just really negative view of it. Like, in my head, I would find myself sometimes, like, say, sleeping off a 4-day hangover after a festival.
Oh.
And, like, my rationale for not doing any exercise was like, well, you're always knackered. So, like, why would you allocate more of your time to going and doing exercise, which is going to tire you out even more? And then, like, what is the point in that? Like, you're just going to end up more tired from doing the exercise. But I hadn't established this relationship with exercise where it's like, oh no, actually, the more you do it, the more energy you inevitably have. I had not made that connection before. So when I started to get into the gym quite regularly, when I had a lot of downtime during COVID, when my world just completely stopped, that period when things started to very slowly reopen, like gyms and swimming pools and things like that, and I was just sat around kind of slowly losing my mind. I was like, well, just go for a swim every day. You enjoy it. Just do it. Make a point of doing it every day. Just do it. And eventually, if you do something every day for long enough, as you know, it just becomes a habit, and it becomes part of, like, who you are. It becomes just kind of ingrained in you. So I'll be honest with you, Ben, it's just become the new addiction. Like, it really has.
It's wonderful. We worked together for the Northern Superchargers, in the 100. You're on a wonderful DJ. The way your energy and love for music and an atmosphere transfer to the crowd. We're talking 15, 20,000 people here instantly. Yeah. I had huge admiration for you, but the energy, the fun you wanted to have, the passion you seemed to have for life, I was like, my goodness, this is wonderful. Then I realised that, like myself, you're a bit further into the alcohol-free life, but you are alcohol-free 5.5 years, and it clicked, seeing that energy, that passion. You just mentioned you've always had that energy and passion, but being alcohol-free, does it give you more confidence, would you say? You're always going to have that energy and passion, but more confidence to embrace every situation?
I've always had a bit of an interesting relationship with confidence and self-confidence that I've started to understand a lot more recently. in that there's a fine line between narcissism and confidence. And sometimes when a person comes across as very, very confident, they are in fact very, very narcissistic. And I think for the longest time that I had convinced myself that I was a very, very confident individual, whereas in actual fact, I was a rampant narcissist. When I quit drinking, it brought the curtain down. And as fantastic as it was to be able to be alcohol free and be free of something that had really become a problem in my life, like I'll call a spade a spade. I am an alcoholic, and I'd completely lost control over it. So I needed to get it under control for the sake of my job, for the sake of my family, and for the sake of myself. Because I genuinely believe, Ben, that I don't think I'd be sitting here talking to you if I hadn't managed to get it under control. It was just, it had gotten that bad. I think every alcoholic has like a quote, that they found along the way that has really inspired them. And for me, it was that somebody had said, the only drink I can say no to is my first one. So that's what I do.
Yeah.
I just had to draw a line under the sand. There was no point where it was like, I need to just get it under control. I can't control it. And I'm cool with that. It's one of those things. It's like, okay, well, I did enough drinking throughout my life that like I filled my quota, if you will.
Yeah.
I was very good at it. I was like a pro level drinker. But I just had to draw a line under it and walk away from it. But when I did, you lose that safety net. You lose that comfort blanket, that thing that you're able to just be like, I don't feel that confident today, so I'm going to have a couple of drinks, and that will give me the little bit of boost that I need just to be able to do whatever it is I need to do. So when I lost that, I realized that a lot of my confidence wasn't confidence. It was just me being a narcissist. And that was a very hard pill to swallow. It required me for the first time in my life to be very, very introspective without any sort of crutch whatsoever, and realize that there was a lot of underlying issues and there was a lot of underlying problems there that I'd just for years numbed with alcohol. And it was, I went through, I'd say, a period of probably about, the first year of quitting alcohol was phenomenal. When I reached that 1 year mark, it was such a milestone for me. It was absolutely fantastic. It started to, after I was open about it and I spoke openly about the fact that I'd reached that 1 year sober, it started to become part of who I was, part of my personality as well, every bit as much as drink was before. The sobriety had started to become that now. What has helped me a lot when it's come to maintaining sobriety is when I was open about it and spoke about it. In that time since, I've had quite a few people that have come to me and said, I think I've maybe got a little bit of a problem with alcohol myself, and I just want to speak to somebody about it. Now, it's those moments, as great as they are, that people feel that they can place their trust in me. They are hard for me because I don't feel, I'm not a therapist. I've got no experience in this. All I can talk about is my own personal experience and give them some advice from what I went through along the way, and hopefully they can relate to that. But the fact that they're willing to even come to me and say, I think I've got a bit of a problem with this, I feel duty bound to, at very least, sit and talk with those people on an individual kind of one-to-one basis and just listen to what they've got to say, offer them up some advice from my own personal experience. And what has been a source of great happiness is when those people will message me 6 months later and say, I haven't had a drink. And I'm like,
yeah,
amazing. Keep up the great work. Because I know that even if they do decide that they're going to have a drink at some point in the future, or they start to deteriorate a little bit and their relationship with alcohol does start to take that turn, they will always have that time, that period where they go, do you know what? I've done it before, I can do it again. I've had that 6 month period, I've had that 1 year period, or whatever. I've had that time away that if my relationship with if I feel that I can go back to it, then yeah, okay, I'll ease myself back into that world. But if it ever does start to become a problem again, then at least I know that I've had that gap, that away from it. I am at a place where I can help other people that feel like they need to make a little bit of a change as well. I don't miss alcohol in the slightest anymore. I've actually got to the point now where I've forgotten what it feels like to be drunk. And for me, as somebody who was heavily reliant on alcohol as a source of giving me that confidence boost that I needed, the industry that I work in, it's everywhere. And not only is it everywhere, it's usually free. And not only is it free, but sometimes it's encouraged. And I can say that with confidence because on more than one occasion, I would be the guy encouraging it. You know, you're the DJ.
Yeah.
Right, you've got this crowd of people that are there to have a good time, and I've got a microphone in my hand, and I'm sloshed. So what am I doing? Get the drinks in, get the shots in. Let's get this party started. There was times I used to run my own club night, and I'd just be like, I'd run behind the bar and just be like, "There's 50 quid," and just grab a couple of bottles with pourers on. Get on the bar and just be like, come on, just start pouring it into people's mouths. I'm a terrible influence, you know, and to be honest, I still kind of am, because like, if people, I'm no killjoy. If you like a drink, right, and you know that you've got a handle on it enough that you can just like you can walk away from it at any point, great. Have a drink. Fantastic. Not a problem at all. I've got no problem at all. I like being around people that are comfortable enough within themselves, that they've got a control over it, that they've got a handle on their drinking, and they can just enjoy themselves. They can have a drink to relax. I couldn't do that. I was a million miles an hour. As soon as it was one drink, it was 2, 3, 4, let's go. Like, there was no calm 2 or 3 pints with your mates. I just didn't see the point. I was just like, for me, I was like, if we're going to drink, then we're going to make an absolute night of it. It's going to be one to remember every single time. It doesn't matter whether it's a Tuesday night in January or whether it's, you know, we're at a festival. It's like, let's just go. Let's just go. But if you can and you enjoy a drink, then fair play. We all have our vices or our means of, you know, relaxation. But once we start to lose a grip of those, once they start to become you know, a crutch more than just a means of relaxation, then I think that's at the point where you need to sit down and go, what is my relationship with this now? Maybe it needs to be reassessed. So yeah, when people do come forward and be like, I think I've started to get a bit of a problem with it, I feel really honoured that their first port of call, and delighted when they can start to reassess that relationship and make kind of positive changes in their life. Yeah.
Was there anyone you approached, Christian, when you first thought, oh, you know what, this is becoming to creep into my personal, professional life, I'm a bit concerned? Was there somebody you felt you could approach?
I told my wife first and foremost, but she knew.
Oh.
She already knew. So and so did a few people around me. I'd let it run away. It had taken over control. The people closest to me had started to realise that it was becoming a problem, most notably my wife, and she had tried to tell me on numerous occasions. But the problem is, when you are in the absolute throes of alcoholism, it doesn't matter whether it's the person that you love most in this world, whether it's a complete stranger, whether it is an expert on the subject. If they're trying to tell you that you've got a problem with alcohol, but you don't believe that you do, you are not going to listen to them. It is an unfortunate set of circumstances where I think that in some instances, all the intervention in the world can't help. You need to come to these conclusions on your own. But I think that, as bleak as that sounds, because in a lot of instances, for some people, you have to hit rock bottom before you can start to look back up again, because then it's the only direction that you can look. Once you have hit that bottom point, then it's almost like it's kind of freeing in a way. You hit that bottom point and you're just like, do you know what? Why am I carrying around all this weight? I can just shed it all off and slowly but surely start to make my way back up again. So you have to have that dawning moment, that realization. If you're lucky, it'll come before you've lost everything. And I consider myself so unbelievably lucky.
Oh.
I am grateful every single day that I managed to have that realization before I'd got to the point where I'd lost everything. And I came dangerously close. So I would encourage anybody who has even started to suspect that they may have a problem, or they've heard even just one person in their life say, you think maybe you should slow down, or do you think maybe you've had enough? Like, if you hear that, don't get on the defensive.
Yeah.
Start to ask yourself, why is that? What, you know, don't think, well, who are you to tell me what to do? You're confident. That's the thing about alcohol as well. It can make you just so arrogant. I was just so arrogant. I was like, how dare you tell me when I've had enough? I'm the life and soul of the party. I'll decide when I've had enough, you know? So, but if somebody in your life, regardless of whether it's a complete stranger or whatnot, says that to you, then rather than getting on the defensive, just take a moment to actually have a think about what it is that your relationship with alcohol is like. I remember the exact moment in my life that I decided, I made the conscious decision, I will never drink alcohol again. And it was about 2 months after I'd quit drinking. And I was at a music festival with the whole family. I had the wife there, I had the kid, had both my boys there, and I said, I asked my eldest. I think he was only about 8 years old at the time, but he absolutely floored me in a way that was very humbling, very sobering, but put me on the right path for the rest of my life. I turned to him and I says, are you having a good time? And he said, yeah, but it's probably only a matter of time before you get drunk and fall over somewhere. And I was like, no, I'm not having that be the image that my boys have in their head of their father, of being worried about at any point he could just go off to the bar and then that's it, he's a write-off. I'm not having that be the image that my kids have of their father. And if it kills me, I will do everything within my power to make sure that that image is a distant memory in their head that they never ever have to worry about again. And I'm not, like, when you can imagine hearing that from my own son, I was stopped dead in my tracks. It swung like a wrecking ball, but when it did, it kind of cleared the way for something new. Yeah, sure, it hit me. It absolutely sideswiped me, and it knocked my entire world it flat on the ground. But the good thing about that was, at the same time, is like, right, there's your fresh canvas. Everything that you know about yourself or that you've created about yourself in your head, it's just gone, swiped clean. And yeah, it was both probably one of the worst and best moments of my entire life, because as awful as it was to hear, it was an absolute necessity for me to be able to go, right, there you go, there's your moment, there's your lowest point, get yourself back up again.
And it's that joy.
It worked, yeah.
Yeah, it's that joyous feeling, isn't it, of that blank canvas where just having that calm that being alcohol-free brings you, just being able to start the day afresh, being able to tackle life clear-headed. Two things I really want to pick up on, Christian. Firstly, when you mention how, the music career, the music industry kind of fueled and encouraged, excessive drinking. Likewise, within theatre, it's so... I think my drinking became excessive because I was allowed to wallow in the fact that I was a thespian. We were going to the pub after every show, every night, cracking on with the beers, and it seems accepted in that world, but of course it's ridiculous. I would have enjoyed my acting career far more had I been alcohol free. But the big one that really hit me just then, Christian, was when you mentioned that it was your wife you told first that you thought you might have a problem. The catalyst to me being alcohol free, I've mentioned before numerous times on the pod, Christian, was having my hair transplant, and the doctor was like, right, you need to stop drinking for 4 weeks. And I was like, what? And you know what, it was my beautiful now fiance Rita who said to me, you won't drink again.
Yeah.
And I knew she'd known that for a long time. I knew myself for a long time that I needed to address it.
Yeah.
But how funny, and it's when you hear it from somebody you love dearly, it's like, it's time. I can't let these people down anymore. I'm ready. And it's that feeling of like, it's almost like that worry of life just shedding. It's like, okay, let's be honest, let's finally be open and let's crack on. And the best decision I've made. And you mentioned that first year glow. I'm 2 years, almost 2 years alcohol free, but would you have any tips, say, for someone like myself, where 2 years, like almost that glow has gone? I feel like I'm sometimes harping on about being alcohol free to my friends and colleagues too much, but you know what? I'm bloody proud of it.
Yeah, yeah. That was such a great point that you made there. But like, it's fascinating sometimes how other people can see the sadness inside you that you can't
Yes.
see within yourself. It's incredible. Should we all be so lucky as to have somebody in our lives who can hold a mirror up to ourselves and
Oh,
allow ourselves to really see and really accept and really just let it all go and let down those barriers and just be like, yeah, okay, I think there was a deep sadness here that I really wasn't kind of addressing, and that I had just relied on an exuberant personality for many, many years to kind of to cover up that fact from other people. So yeah, find that person who will allow you to really open up about that, and it will make a vast difference in your life. I think that, and I think I've kind of answered that question a little bit there, of
yeah.
like, with regards to your tip is just like, find that person who above all that you trust, regardless of whether or not that you maybe in the past have valued their opinion. Like, sometimes I would be very, very quick to, even though she's the woman I've spent 20 years of my life with, I would be quick to dismiss my wife's opinion on my drinking because it was mine. It was something that I had ownership over, and it was a part of my own personal life. And given the line of work that I'm in, I was like, well, she doesn't understand. She doesn't get this. Like, this is the line of work that I'm in. This is just part and parcel of it. Everybody does it. Like, it's not just me. There are, and one of the interesting things about going alcohol free for me as well was realizing just how many people within my industry that I can now look at and go, wow, you are a raging alcoholic. But like, if
Yeah.
they've got, but if they've got a handle on it, if their life is okay, it's never be for one me, and never be one for like to kind of point it out. I kind of, if that person ever comes to the conclusion that their alcohol, that their consumption of alcohol is a problem, they know where to find me, and they know that I'm here, and they know that I'm always, ready and willing to offer up advice. But yeah, you can kind of sit back and look at the other people around you and go, wow, it was not just you think like you when you've quit alcohol, like, it's quite an isolating experience for a number of different reasons. You very quickly start to find yourself in different social circles and different circumstances. You're not in the bar as much as you maybe once were before, because it is quite difficult to sometimes be in that environment, and especially in the early days. That takes a long time. For me, it took, well, I'm 5.5 years alcohol free, but I would honestly say that it's only really been across the course of the last year that I've been able to tap into the guy that I was when I was drunk.
Mm.
Like, sometimes that, like I said about that alcohol, that you sometimes have to give you that little bit of that boost of confidence so that you can go and do those jobs. Um, I've had to learn over the course of the last 5 years. Right, okay, how do I let out this rampant hedonist? How do I let this guy out of his cage? Because at the moment, it just kind of feels like all I've really done with that side of my personality, it's still there. It's still a part of me. You never stop being an alcoholic. You are always an alcoholic. You just learn to get it under control. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, right, he's still there. I know for a fact that he's still there. It's just like he's in a cage. And I had this weird epiphany it was about a year and a half ago, and I was in the gym, which had since then become like the new addiction. It had become like my
Yeah.
go-to kind of place to help with that. And there's this weird place in the gym where you're surrounded by mirrors, right? And I was looking in the mirror, and I saw me standing in front of me. But then, because of the reflections, I could see another version of me that was kind of in the background. He was about here. And then there was another one that was a bit further away. He was quite a bit further back. And then there was another guy right at the back, and he had his back turned. It was me, but he had his back turned to me. And it was like, it was the first time in my life I'd ever felt like all the different aspects of my various personalities were all in one place.
Wow.
It was like the convening of the Council of the Carlisles, right? It was like, we are all here, meeting convened. Here's me, right? Here's the version of me that I want to be. Here's the version of me that I was. Here's the version of me that I'm ashamed of. Here's the version of me that he wants to come back out of the cage, but I don't know how to let him out. I don't, because I was like, I need to be able to let this guy out, because he is great. He's just a little bit misguided, and he's a little bit overexcited, right? He's the little puppy, guests come round, he's gonna piss on the floor, but you love him, it's fine, So how do I let him out without allowing myself to fall back into old patterns? And that just took practice. It just took a lot of practice. And these days, because I still work in the line of work that I do. I still work as a DJ, and I'm going out to these places, and I'm required to be on the microphone, the life and soul of the party. There's 1,500 people in this room, and every single one of them's come for a good time. Now, before, I'd convinced myself the only way that I can do this is if I'm on their level. The only way that I can convince them to have a good time is if I'm every bit as drunk as everybody else in the crowd. That's the only way I can do it. But now I've managed to let this guy out who can still be this exuberant hedonist. The way I managed to do it was just basically by finding balance. When he was out of the cage, when he was me, my entire personality, I felt like I had to be that person all of the time. It didn't matter whether I was doing the school run or whether I was doing a DJ set. It didn't matter whether I was at a festival or a christening. I was like, I have to be that guy all of the time. Finding that balance in my life, most of the time I'm sat around in sweatpants and just chilling out with my family, and I'm a pretty quiet guy. But then the time comes where I need to get on stage and do a DJ set, and it's like, boom, let's go. Like, come on, people, let's party. So being able to find that balance I'd say is a key part of anybody's alcohol-free journey. Of being at comfort and being at peace with the person that you would become when you were a bit drunk, that would become a bit of an arsehole when you were too drunk.
Yeah.
And the person that is just, the person that you are becoming now, finding that balance there and being able to let that person out now and again without the assistance of alcohol. Man, it is a fine art, and it's a hard thing to do. It's a knife edge that you constantly find yourself on, this balancing act, and it's not an easy thing to do. But once you manage to do it, once you start to even get a glimpse of like, this is what my life could be like, and I don't need any help doing it. This is all me.
Yeah.
And I'm doing this. It's not the faux confidence that I've bought myself from alcohol or drugs. It's nothing else. It's just me. When you have those moments, it's honestly the greatest high I've ever experienced.
Yeah. Oh, you should be so proud. I mean, you're flying, Christian, and when I think of how cantankerous I could be when I was pissed, and likewise, it's just knowing that, no, it's like that has gone. I'm so proud of being alcohol-free, of what I'm achieving, the more creativity I have in my acting career as well, the more scope I'm giving to other people within a company. Say I'm being more sociable. Weirdly, it's kind of crazy.
Yes,
it's kind of crazy because I'm more assured of the real me.
Yeah.
And the beauty is, once I've had enough, it's like cheerio. I'm off to bed. And another day tomorrow. Oh, I bloody love it, honestly.
Oh man, you're so right there about what you say about being more sociable, because the interactions that you start to have with other people when you don't have alcohol in your system are so much more genuine and authentic. How often have we found ourselves in a smoking area of a nightclub at 3:30 a.m. talking with somebody you met 20 minutes ago about how you're going to go jet skiing tomorrow. And it's bullshit, Ben. You're talking absolute
I
just
know.
nonsense to strangers, making these grandiose plans that never actually come to fruition. But when you go alcohol free for a bit, I've found myself having more and more of these conversations that fair enough, they might not be as grandiose or eccentric as they were when I was, 18 pints deep with my new best mate. Yeah, fair enough. They might not be as grandiose, but I'll tell you what they are. They are more realistic,
Yeah.
and they are more achievable. And more often than not, I find myself actually following through on them and going, do you know what? I'm gonna send an email and I'm gonna chase this up. I'm gonna follow that up because that was quite a fascinating conversation about something that me and this other person that I've been speaking to could potentially do. Let's see if we can make it happen. And sometimes if you eventually start to pull on that thread, good things can come from it. I'm a firm advocate of if you're out with people, no meaningful conversations happen after midnight. Nothing good happens after midnight. If you can have the self-control to, like you say, be able to go, right, I'm off. Lovely seeing you all. I've had some great conversations with you. If you want to stay out and party till 4 a.m., I'm not going to stop anybody. You enjoy yourselves. I'm just not going to be part of that anymore because I'm going to get up at 7 tomorrow. I know it's Sunday, but I'm going to get up at 7 because if I do, I can get out for a walk, I can hit the gym for a bit, I can do my invoices from the weekend, and then I can go into the next week fine. That next week I'm going into, that's mine, because I'm not sitting there worrying about all the things that I haven't done because I've spent the last 3 days wallowing in self-pity, consumed by dread of the embarrassment that I was over the course of the weekend. And I'm actually going into this next week with a relatively clear and level head.
Completely, and it's that fearlessness. It's given me fearlessness, Christian, to pursue contacts, to make connections, because the joy is you never know what that might lead to, and ultimately, this podcast would still have been buried deep within my anxiety, booze-fueled mind, I tell you, 100%. Yeah. Christian, you are one of the leading voices of BBC Music Introducing. We've talked about the buzz of being alcohol-free, the buzz of exercise. Is there a nice little tickle, a nice little buzz when you discover a new act, a new vocalist, a new band that you can just say, go on, there's a little platform for you, off you go?
I think that it's a very different buzz that I get from that job than I ever did from any of the other ones. Because when it comes to BBC Introducing, it comes from a place of altruism. I don't stand to gain from any of the acts that I assist along the way. How BBC Introducing works is that it's and the reason that I love it so much is that it's open to everybody. So it kind of breaks down a lot of the socioeconomic barriers that come when it comes to making music. It can be very expensive to be a musician. It can be very time consuming and expensive to get your music recorded and go to all of that effort. So a lot of people don't have the capital, they don't have the funds to be able to promote themselves adequately. There are millions of songs out there, Ben, that are masterpieces that we've never heard because they just get lost in a sea of content. And what we do at BBC Introducing is we give people this open platform to be able to say, look, we know you don't have any money. You're a struggling musician. That's fine. Record something and send it to us. And if we like it, we can give it the platform. If we think that it's greatness, then we can give it the platform. If you hear that spark of greatness, that is the really beautiful moment where you've realized I'm onto something here. And like I say, the only driving force that I have behind wanting to make people, as many people hear that music as possible, is that spark of greatness that I've seen. I'm not, rushing out to sign them to a record label or anything. It's like there's no gain for this for me personally, other than just being able to showcase what these incredible artists are making to a much, much larger audience. So that, it's spectacular when you start to see these artists really go places, and you've been there on that journey from day one. You've been one of the first people to recognize that spark of greatness, that absolute genius within that artist. Then it's I can't even. Do you know what? I genuinely can't even think of the word to describe it. It's just exhilarating to be on that journey with these artists as they go along the way, to achieve everything that they wanted to when they first opened their mouths and realized that they could sing, when they first picked up a guitar and wanted to be Hendrix, when they first got that buzz for making music, and have managed to turn that into something tangible. They've managed to make it into a career and make a dream come true. And you've been part of that journey from the early stage. It's wonderful.
And music can spark so much emotion, can't it? My goodness. What's the one song that makes you feel happy? That you can forget everything and you just feel, you know what? I feel happy.
Ben, that is the $1 million question for anybody in my industry.
I feel like I feel like only slightly younger Jeremy Clarkson here.
Wow. My happy song depends on the circumstances. Sometimes the song that I need to make me feel happy in a moment can be the most heavy, full-on death metal music that you've ever heard. And sometimes it can be the most soft and genteel bit of classical music. And sometimes it can be a cheesy pop banger. But it very much kind of depends on my circumstances, right? Now, I try and put it like this. Not the most recent Arctic Monkeys album, but the one before, Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino. It took a complete turn for the Arctic Monkeys and kind of turned their sound a lot on its head. And it brought a lot of people were like, I don't really know if I like this. And some people were like, I think this is absolutely genius. And my way of explaining it was this. It is the best Arctic Monkeys album in the right situation. Right? If you're in a nightclub and you're with a load of friends, you want first album Arctic Monkeys. You want those big banging tracks. You want I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor. You want Scummy Man. You want Marty Bum. You want to be singing along to the anthems with all your friends. But if you're chilling with a bunch of people that you absolutely adore on a sunny Sunday afternoon with a barbecue in the background, you want to crack out the vinyl of Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino. You want to put that on. And in that moment, that's the best Arctic Monkeys album. Music is so subjective. And I think that depending on your circumstances, depending on your surroundings, depending on the people who you were with, that it can change which song is your happy song in any particular moment. And I think that's why music is so important. Make a soundtrack to your life, people. Like, absolutely have a broad spectrum of musical tastes and influences and start to make a soundtrack to your life. You are the star of your own movie. Right? That is what is happening right now in your own existence. And every great movie has an incredible soundtrack.
Well, Christian, you've made me feel so happy today. My happy song is Start Me Up, the Rolling Stones. So after this chat, I'm going to make a nice cup of tea. I'm going to have one of the Ben Harlow kitchen boogies, a bit of Rolling Stones.
That is what I like to hear. Fantastic. And you know what? Like, I think that music is such an important positive force in our lives. I'm really grateful to have it. And gratitude is such a vital tool, not just for a sober life, but for a happy one in general.
Congratulations on your alcohol-free life, Christian. It's been a joyous chat. It's put such a big smile on my face. And thank you so much for coming in and being so open and sharing your effervescence in Benjy's Cafe podcast.
Benjy, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the brilliant Christian Carlisle. 5.5 years sober. Just wonderful. And you can catch Christian getting the party started at Day Fever UK. Check them out. Don't forget, a fresh new episode of Benjy's Cafe podcast drops every Tuesday. Just find us wherever you get your podcasts. Give us a follow so every episode gets sent straight to your phone. Tell your friends, tell your family, and if you can, please leave a review. In episode 3, I'll be joined by the theatre director, Tim English. I'll get the kettle on. Have a great day.